Welcome back to another episode of the Blitz Break. I'm your host, Phil Rasmussen, back here on another Friday morning. Thanks for joining us. And as always, except for last week, joined by my partner in crime and the resident Texan with the worst pair of white shoes on the planet that I did miss last week, Buzz Howard.
You missed me on my shoes.
I did. I made the comment last week. I missed it.
Yeah. You know, it's been 2 weeks because 2 weeks ago we were in Arizona at that leadership conference. And then last Friday, I was with my girl getting her knee replaced. So it's been I'm going to tell you, I'm so excited because she's going to, be able to mow the yard easier with that new knee. But it's been quite the journey for the last week. So
I'm glad to have you sitting here again.
Yeah, I'm glad to be back
and to be able to look at your shoes to loosen me up before we get going here.
I know. Glad to be back.
They talk as they go, right? And Julie Shroyer, welcome back. As always,
Yes.
Our resident expert across the board in industry, social media, networking, you name it. And the one that helps make us all look so much better than
thank
if
you.
we weren't
Appreciate
here.
that. So glad to be here.
And you did such a great job when we were gone 2 weeks ago.
Yes, we had some fun.
You were the
Liz Anderson was the one. She was amazing. Yes.
It's good to have her.
I got lots of messages that said, "Can you just not go on the show anymore, Phil?" And I was like, "I'm sorry."
Yeah, we've noticed that he gets more views when the two of us aren't on.
No, that's not true.
That's right. Well, very excited for today's guest.
Yes.
A 2-decade-long mortgage professional, runs New Vision Lending, and somebody who is a coach and a leader and the author of From Darkness to Redemption, Unfinished Work 2.0, which is really a wake-up call for anybody who is looking for a reason to look in the mirror and take full responsibility and try to break habits and address traumas and really build the identity and legacy that they would like to leave behind in their life and live the rest out. Albert Chavez, thanks for joining us, my friend.
Well, I'm honored. That was amazing. Yeah, you might get your wish, by the way. I get emotional when you're saying that. All I can reflect is how hard it was to write the book. Like, it was excruciating hard to, as a man, right? Let's just be real, right? As a man in this world we grow up in, and just all of the seeding and the planting and the programming of, like, you can't say this and you shouldn't say this and this is taboo. It's like, for you to say those words, it just resonated to me like, wow, like someone read my book, someone relates. And that is the best feeling in the world besides being a father and all these other things. So thank you for the introduction. That was amazing.
So one of the things that I'll ask you just to kind of set us up for the day. I read through the book because I knew that I was going to sit here with you. If you're talking to an audience, just real quick, why would they want to read it? What is the...
Real simple. This book, the first chapter will make you want to cry. As you read through it, you'll like look back at your life. You're going to want to cheer. You're going to want to jeer. You're going to want to laugh. You're going to want to run through a wall. And then you're going to look at yourself and say, what can I do to get better? Am I showing up authentically as the man or woman that I need to be, or am I still holding on to things that no longer serving me?
Nice.
Powerful. That's powerful.
Nice. That's the shot right there. I love that your son did the dedication.
Woo.
My son's works here.
Yeah.
He's sitting, not 100 feet away from us. How did that happen?
So as the story goes, I'll just kind of break it down a little bit. So at one point in time, he didn't talk to me for almost 2.5 years during my trials and tribulations in 2019. And since then, him and I had a come to Jesus meeting. I would say I knew it was February in 2022. It's the coming together meeting that him and I sat down as men, not as father and son, not as man boy. It's like, here are my needs and what are your needs, and are we willing to fulfill those needs? And we cried, we laughed, we were arguing at each other, but that was a foundation for our relationship, to where, not as a 9-year-old boy, but as a 23-year-old man, He had stuff that he was working through that he needed to tell me. I had stuff as a little boy and man and father and divorcee of his mom, and we talked. So as our relationship grew, that was just the foundation. When it came time to where, because of all the conversations we had, the experiences we've had, it was a no-brainer. I actually called him. I go, "Hey, bro, I'm writing book 2." He's like, "Really?" I go, "Yeah, I gotta have a favor." He goes, "Yeah." I go, "I would love for you to write a foreword for me." He's like, "Can you explain what that is?" I go, "I want you to, in your own words," and I gave him a template, like who your father has been for you, who he was, who he is now, and what you saw.
Yeah.
In your own words. So when he wrote it, I'm going to tell you what, like I'm probably getting emotional on this call, like but I broke down because from his own words, I got to see through the lens of a young man who was still in pain, but also super proud that I could be the hero in his life at that point.
Yeah, I loved it. I really, like I said, I really identify with it, with being so close to my son.
Yeah.
So it's nice.
Yeah.
Well, and I wanted to open with a question, because to me, I think writing a book like this, like you said, how hard it was.
Yeah.
I think most people, and the reason it's so relatable is that everyone goes through significant challenges in life, right? Most people spend most of their time hiding it from the rest of the world, showing up for other people in ways that they either believe they're supposed to or they're required to.
Right.
What was the moment for you where you realized, first, I have to change, that began that path, and then what was the moment where you said, all right, I actually want to put what I've now been through into a book?
Beautiful. I talk about in the book. I know exactly when it was. I don't remember the exact date, but I talk about the book. There was a time. So little context. So at 47, I was already divorced. My kids were already almost adults already. My youngest was 16, and I just was going through this breakup with this woman I was with, who we lived with. And I was probably at the lowest point of my life. I was 250 pounds. I was overweight. I was just like drinking a lot, probably drinking a fifth of vodka and two, bottles of wine every other day. Like, that's how bad it was. And then, but I remember vividly, I woke up one morning, and at this point, my kids weren't talking to me. This was in 2019, right? They stopped talking to me. And I woke up a Saturday morning, and one of my favorite drinks was an old fashioned. And I made an old fashioned at 9 a.m. on a Saturday.
Wow.
And I'm shaking right now because it's like reality, right? And I remember just getting in bed. I made it really strong. And where my bed was set up, it was in a corner, and it was, the mattress soft. So as I put the drink down, I was very careful. But when I sat down, it spilled all over the place. It spilled all over the place. And I was like, fuck. Like, it was at that moment I was like, what are you doing? It smelled, and I had to clean it up. And I was just like, I just remember feeling so overwhelmed, so down. Like, what are you doing? That, as that day progressed, I remember just kind of just being sulky, and I remember I prayed, like, God, I don't have any solutions anymore. Like, can you, like, what do you want from me?
Yeah.
And it was like, the next morning I woke up, and I was like, that's enough. That's enough. Now, it wasn't just enough just to say that. There's things I had to do. Like, I can talk a little bit more about it. But that was, I remember it vividly, because that was like the catalyst that says you have to do something differently, or you're going to either be dead in the next couple of years, or you're going to be so lonely, you're going to take your own life. Or you're going to make someone so miserable and repeat the pattern that you're going to keep hurting people. Like, those are my options. Or change.
That's powerful.
So powerful.
I was going to ask you in your book about generational trauma, which I'd never heard of it till I read your book, which I thought that was really powerful, because then I started thinking the impact. Like, I don't know what my grandparents were like. I don't even know anything about them, but your book says it's kind of passed down to generations, which is so intriguing. Talk more about that.
Well, just through learning about just processes, like we all have 12 generations of DNA in our body, whether we like it or not. And we don't even know what they went through. And a lot of what we're learning more about in science is that, and this is just going to be cliff notes of this, is that whatever your family went through that wasn't either dealt with or wasn't discussed or it was just kind of discarded gets imprinted in our nervous system. That's the foundation of it, in our nervous system. So when we're born, it goes from your umbilical cord to you, like it's in you. Mm-hmm. And how that comes out is sometimes there's maybe you have cancers, maybe you have certain types of way you react to things. There's all these different variables. Anyways, so what the Dickerson basically analysis says is like, you have different stages of your life. And for me, what hit me more powerful was because my mom left me so early in life, I never got nurturing. That was really hard for me. Like I never understood the power of nurturing until I looked back at how my kid's mom parented, how nurturing she was, or women I've dated they're very nurturing. I never got that. So year 0 to 2 was so impactful for me that I didn't get that. So for me, it was like, wow, I understand myself. And then other people I know that maybe they had a problem with associating with people. Well, in the Dickerson problem, it says like, years maybe 7 and 8, you're learning identity, how to deal with society. So I wanted to put in the book because I wanted it to be relatable to people to say, whatever's going on in your life as adults stems from this pattern of either, again, the intimacy you get as a kid, or social aspects, or even how your parents parent. So it was just a really important feature for me to put in. How can you identify with yourself and where you're at, and maybe that could help you unlock some of the things within.
I love that. And that's the power of your book, is like it makes you understand. That's why I react the way that I do. I totally get it now.
Yeah.
I get it, Buzz.
About time. I've been telling you this for, 20 years.
But it's also helped me with my kids, because I went through a divorce, which was very traumatic for them when they were 6 and 8.
Wow.
And to this day, I see the impact of it.
Yeah.
And when people are thinking about divorce, I was like, there's another side to it that you're not thinking about. And it's the huge impact it has on the kids. And you did touch on it in your book, but truthfully, you got to look at the whole picture, because to this day, they still.
So I believe in a lot of what you're saying on this generational patterns. Yeah. Because my grandparents divorced early in life. So my father and when he got married, then my parents divorced. Mm-hmm. And it's one of the reasons why I'm 60, almost 65. I've never married because I just couldn't quite. And of course, my girlfriend will watch this now. But I just didn't believe in the whole marriage thing and how the people treated each other and the meaning of it. Now, that doesn't mean, I've been with my girlfriend for 18 years. And we're committed to each other in every way. But I just haven't believed in that marriage thing. And so I think that a lot of that has gone all the way down to even my son, because his mother and I didn't last after he was born. Now, of course, we stayed really close friends, but he's 35 and I don't see him ever wanting to get married. And so there are patterns that are created.
Yeah. Well, just on that, so what I love about this conversation, so let me give you more context. I talk about it in the book. So the way my parents grew up, my mom was 16, my dad was 21 when I was conceived. And I had to do an exercise in 2020. I went on this trip. It was a rites of passage journey. We can talk about it a little bit later if you want. But one of the assignments was to find out what your birth story was like. Your birth story. Your birth story dictates a lot of the traits that you have as an adult. So I called my mom, and I hadn't talked to her for years. I literally text her. I go, hey, out of the blue. I hadn't talked to her probably in 5 years, right? Because we were just estranged. And I have a question for you. Was wondering if you'd like to talk about it. It had to do with what was going on in my life when I was born. it opened up some dialogue with us, and she's like, it was chaos. Your dad
This is after you were born, not
while I was being conceived. What was going on?
Oh.
The first year of my life, like conception through the first year.
9 months. Got it.
But
Okay.
So, and she's like, it was chaotic. I go, and I already kind of knew this, but I wanted to hear it. She's like, your dad just got out of jail. He was in juvenile hall. We didn't know where we were going to live because we were kind of on the run, right? And we lived at different people's houses, which makes me understand more about how I would get anxious in people's houses when I was a kid. And your dad was still he's part of a gang. He was part of a gang in LA. And he goes, but it was rain. It was storming when you were born. It was like raining really hard. And I just remember thinking like, wow, like chaos. And then when you were 1 year old, like, I'm going to get really deep here. So pardon me, my dad witnessed, and I was there, witnessed his brother get brutally murdered on the street. It was he had just got out of prison at San Quentin. He was a mafia guy, and a Mexican mafia, and he got out, and right about 100 yards from me, they parked in the middle at night, and I was outside. I was like 1 year old, and he got brutally stabbed by some gangbangers. My dad witnessed it, and apparently I was there. So you could just like all these little things, right? But I remember the scene. I remember the house. I remember what was going on. I just don't remember what was going on. So anyways, going back to the trauma is like, so that now that's imprinted in me. But even further, I found out about my parents, right? I didn't realize that there was rape, there was incest, there was murder, all these things in both sides of the family. So I was imprinted with that. So when I think part of the challenge I've had for most of my life up until 2019, 2020 was ignoring that was a part of me. When I acknowledged that it was a part of me and I had to address it full on, I talk about in the book in chapter, I think 8, when I go to the desert, that was the first time that I addressed this ancestral baggage, this hurt, this we'll call it defiance, because I felt I was the only one ready to do it.
Wow.
Yeah, a lot.
Powerful.
It was a lot of burden. There was a lot of burden, but I had to get through it because I was already alone. My kids were raised. I didn't have anybody to take care of. So I think God honestly put me in a position that says, all right, big boy, like, are you ready for this? And I was like, yeah, I got nothing else to lose. So yeah, there's a story behind a story behind a story behind this.
Yeah.
The thing that you touch on throughout all of that, though, as you tell your story, that I just think it's really important for people to understand what you really hit on in this book, which is a lot of people hide from it, right? They never do the research to learn, right? And we are all affected.
Yeah.
I have plenty of my own things that I can relate to right now in my own life that connect these dots. But it's not just to do the research to get it to turn it into an excuse for you to do whatever. It's to then turn around and be accountable for how are you using that information to make your life better, that you really hit, which is the thing that, you know, I think if you take your people that are struggling most in life, they either have not gone and dealt with it, or they turn around, they get the information, and then they use it as an excuse for why they don't get what they want. And you're hitting that maximum radical accountability concept of like, this is on me. That is to help me be more successful. That information allows me to know what I need. What was for you when you really looked at that? What helped you to really grab a hold of the accountability piece and not get wrapped up in the woe is me sense of learning all of those things? Because I think a lot of people do.
So, my family's not going to want to hear this, but I learned from the best person of who not to be. And that was my dad.
Oh.
Yeah.
The example
You're
of what
teaching
you
your
don't
kids
want.
whether you're teaching them one way or another.
He was,
bad or good,
and God, God willing, like he had such a traumatic life.
Well, yeah.
The challenge is he imprinted that on us. He projected all that hurt on me and the women in his life, like my mom. And I saw so much violence from him that it was normal. like so much violence, like literally physically hitting women, right, and verbally abusing people. And so I got to a point I remember again vividly when this is what I think God does us is the solitude He gives you in life. When for men, I'm talking men specifically. When he puts a man in solitude, it does amazing things because you're forced to look at the mirror. You're forced to stop looking through a window like it's your fault. You did that to me. You know, I'm a victim. And He puts a mirror in your life and says, "No, big boy, like you're the one that did this. You can blame everybody you want, but it's your responsibility." When that solitude happened, when my kids, you know, I pushed my kids away, people out of my life, and I was forced. And then COVID was the best thing that happened for me because as y'all were complaining that we couldn't go anywhere, I was thinking, God, thank you so much that I don't have FOMO. I can't go anywhere. I literally was like, the solitude was so impressive for me. But what I did is I started saying, I started looking at my parents and I said, but that happened to me, but I'm operating, blaming them. Like I'm yelling at you because of how I feel, but I'm blaming them. I'm being mean to you and hurting you with my words and my actions, but I'm blaming them. Where the hell is the fucking accountability here, right? So the radical responsibility that I really, and I struggle today, like, because accountability is really hard because you're forced to admit that you're wrong. You're forced to admit that what you're doing is not right. You're forced to admit that I actually did hurt you, right? It's such a hard thing to do, but it's so powerful. When I started leaning on to, yeah, that happened to me, Albert. Yeah, I'm sorry that happened to you, Buzz. I'm sorry that happened to you, Phil. But it's your responsibility to fix yourself. That was a premier, like basic benchmark that I just started living my life about. Like, it's you put yourself here. You did this, Albert. Yes, your dad did this and your mom wasn't there, but you got to stop putting it on them. Like, you left your marriage, Albert. It wasn't your dad's fault. You hurt your kids. You got arrested. All these things, right? That was the fundamental foundation principle that really woke me up.
Well, you see so many people out there right now, and the problem with social media is that it makes it so visible, all the bad stuff that's out there. But you see so many people, and I think that one of the things that you had said just a minute ago was, I'll add one, is those people that aren't even aware that this is going on in their life. And I see it all the time where so many kids, younger people, just blaming everybody and acting out, and you know, it's no accountability for their own. It's as though the world owes them something, and they've lost that accountability piece. Yeah.
Well, what's interesting about that, you know, I was talking to some friends who have kids and how we grew up, right? I'm going to put us all in a box here. The parenting style has changed so much.
So much.
But we grew up, what people don't really get is we grew up on learning self-respect. This new day of parent, they're teaching their kids how to have self-esteem. How you feel. Are you okay? The crux of that means it's based on feeling. The crux of self-respect is on fact. Did you make your bed? Did you brush your teeth? Did you open the door? Like those pieces are so unique that part of the challenge we're having is the accountability is not there anymore because these little things about how's it make you feel, is it you're offending me, all these rabbit holes we go down, it's because it's more about the self-esteem as opposed to actually having self-respect. So part of my journey was looking in the mirror and I used to always say, God, I wish like she would respect me. And I came up like, bro, like she doesn't respect you because you don't respect
yourself.
Look at yourself. Like, yeah, I was a handsome guy, right? But I was like, what are you doing, dude? Like, you're not even showing up for yourself, and you expect her to give you respect, and you're not even have self-respect. So these little mirrors, I call them, are just really, really great I would say, indicators to show up like how am I showing up for myself? And maybe she does have a point that I'm being a coward. That's a big word. You know what it really means? It means you're not really doing what you're supposed to do. I looked it up. It's really about you're a coward because you're not showing up how you're supposed to show up. But someone like me will use that word and I'll be like, get all agitated, right? When
fighting words
the
type
core
of vibe,
of it means, no, man, just show up.
Yeah. Show up properly.
Absolutely, yeah.
And the victim mentality, it's funny that's one for me. I have a 8-year-old daughter, 11-year-old son, and 14-year-old daughter who's a freshman, and ever since they were kids, it's been a big thing for me when stuff happens. I don't be a victim to it. Like turn around and start, because I want you to start thinking about what can you do to affect change in this scenario, instead of fixating on what happened or who did what. But I always find the best part about, whether you're in leadership, coaching, being a parent, is how when you are saying the things you should say is when you feel the twinge in yourself about where you should be applying the same thing. And I've always found that personally to be super powerful for me, why I always love being coached and coaching at the same time. A coach helps me figure out my blind spots.
Amen to that.
Like they open up the eyes to the thing that I've got tunnel vision and I just can't see it. And accountability, when you take on a role of coaching somebody, if you have that level of respect for yourself and understanding, you tell somebody to do something and you feel that, I'm not really doing that. It's a good balance. And I think, as I was reading through, there were some things that really struck me about just the complete vulnerable honesty that you put into this, right? I mean, like most people are so afraid to tell the real story and be judged. And so the power of not hiding from anything is what affects people. And I think I commend you beyond belief, because I mean, reading it just makes every quote, every word that much more impactful. I got to ask you though, like one of the quotes, the devil don't take checks.
Oh,
like just elaborate on that for the audience and what you mean by that. Cause that is one, it's catchy, but it's also, it's a huge statement.
Well, where it comes from really is about, we say we have to pay this price. There's a price you have to pay, whether it's being an athlete, right? Time, owner of a mortgage company, right? Or an amazing mayor of the city, right? It takes responsibility, right? But it takes time. It takes conviction.
Yeah.
And what happens is we think that we can just show up, and there's not a price to pay. And what I mean by devil don't take checks means that he takes your soul. Like the devil, when you make an arrangement with something in life and you're like, I promise I'll do this. If you let me do this, I promise I'll do this. Right. And you're dealing with the devil. Like he doesn't want your money. He doesn't want your pride. He wants your soul. Like he doesn't take checks. You can't bribe the devil. But, and the great movie, the perfect movie for this is Little Mermaid.
Oh,
Little Mermaid. Yeah.
I don't know that I've seen it.
So Little Mermaid, right? She doesn't have her context for people watching this. If you're not, go watch it. So I think Ursula is her name. She's a big witch. She's an octopus. And then Mermaid doesn't have a voice. So the mermaid makes a deal with Ursula to get her voice back. But if she doesn't, I guess, kiss a boy, or kiss a prince in time, that she signs her soul over to her, right? So guess what Ursula does? Has all these obstacles come in place so that she can't kiss the boy. So she gets her soul. So the whole point of this is you may be making promises that you can't keep. And so the devil doesn't take checks. He takes your soul. And if he takes your soul, like the challenge with the enemy taking your soul is, once he owns your soul, he's then going to pry on your family member's soul. It's not just yours. There's a domino effect. If he can get yours, he can get your kids. Because if you're the leader of the house, guess what? Boom. You can't protect him anymore. Same with you and your son. Same with you and your daughter.
Well, and then that perpetuates this generational
Yep.
trauma, theory all the way down.
Amen to that. Amen to
So-
that. So I was going to touch on what you had brought up about this accountability. So in coaching, what I've experienced is, and I made a point of it in when I said that I made that decision, is a big challenge. There's a gap. So you can make a decision, like I promise that I'm going to stop drinking, for example, right? Well, then what happens is, went back a little bit. You have this awareness. I have a drinking problem, right? I have an awareness. And you're like, you know what? I'm going to stop drinking. But the challenge is tomorrow comes up. So it's like, what is my intention? If my intention not to drink today, why am I not going to drink? And then the action is, I'm not going to drink. The challenge why people fail is because that four-thing process of awareness, decision, intention, and action, if you don't have accountability with somebody, you'll get back on a wagon. You'll start drinking. So whatever habit you're trying to break, whatever thing you're trying to accomplish, the accountability piece is why we avoid it, because it forces us to have a consequence. Mm-hmm. And that consequence is so overwhelming that I'd rather just say, I don't have a drinking problem. I drink occasionally. And I say that with love because I'm a recovering alcoholic. I'm going to have my 4-year anniversary of being sober in 5 days.
Awesome.
Congratulations.
Wow.
That's very
It was
awesome.
2022.
Wow.
It was 4
Impressive.
years. And, going kind of backtracking, when I made the decision to change in 2019, I hired a coach and I hired a fitness trainer, Jason Salinas, plug it to Jason, who changed my life. And, but it wasn't until 2 years later that I stopped drinking. And the reason is what I've learned is if you have this big elephant in the room of alcohol, I'll use mine for example, alcohol, you have this problem. You can't just tackle it head on because you have all these other habits that are supporting that. Mm-hmm. So what I've learned how to do is I create this character of who I wanted to become. And I started tearing down these little habits first. So instead of sleeping in, I wake up at 4 a.m. every morning. I journal. I do all these little things that I do. And once a year came up and I kept doing them over and over, I created confidence. Oh, I can do that. And so as I started building better habits and eating better and getting back in shape and then, showing up better in my life with my friends, family and friends, the belief came. So when I decided to stop drinking, I stopped that day because I had receipts that said I had already been able to do what I was saying we're going to do, follow through, and it's been an incredible journey.
You were
because
building
of that.
habits of committing to a change
Amen.
that you can follow.
Yeah.
I think that fundamentally is one of the things that so many people that are like struggling don't understand. Your body leads your mind leads your body. They're synonymous, and like in athletics, putting on the uniform is a part of mentally getting ready to go play.
Yeah.
Putting on your suit to go to work is a part of getting mentally like there's these things that we do that they all connect. And I think a lot of people got disrupted during COVID in a lot of ways that have yet to figure out a way back to routines that used to work. And you're describing that, and I think you broke it into attainable and achievable things that could build your confidence. And I think that's important for the audience to hear is sometimes the big grandiose idea is great. Like I always say, I'm a big thinker, so I'm looking at the top of the mountain, but then you got to turn down and look at your feet and start taking steps, right?
Well,
That's what you just described. I think is powerful.
Yeah, they talk about how do you eat an elephant. It's one bite at a time, but
In Texas, it's armadillo.
It's
and
armadillos, yes. Calf fries. But what you're describing is this process. There's, you see the big elephant. There's no way to tackle the elephant, but there's ways to create steps to that. It's like if I want to build this beautiful home, I don't just show up with, with roofing material, because you've got to grade the lot. You got to bring in the plumbing and all of the electrical, and then you have to lay a foundation. And so it's this process that has to go along with it all. I remember when I moved to Dallas, when I graduated from high school and I went to college in Dallas, and first time I ever saw a skyscraper being built. And we watched this hole in the ground for, I don't know, a year and a half. I was probably at the end of my sophomore year before we even saw anything, break above ground. But then, man, it was like done just like that because of the foundation. So it's this process, like in your situation, you probably had a lot of things getting into shape, probably eliminating the people that you used to hang around with and drink with all the time, because you can't hang out with those same people. And so all of the sayings that come along with it is like, you can't change by doing the same things every day. You have to do little changes every day. Health, being in shape, all of the things that you described, which is awesome.
So I'll share a story with you. So this past weekend, what's been beautiful about this is, my kids, so Alyssa's 31, she's married with I have 2 grandkids.
Wow.
Beautiful, wonderful man named Michael O'Brien. And then my son's 27, and then my daughter's 25. And so they've witnessed their dad, really witnessed their dad the whole way through. And they know that I've been sober, and they make their own decisions of what they want to do in life, right? But they know dad is sober. They know dad eats a certain way, which is interesting. So I saw her a couple of weeks ago, and she's like, we were talking about dream building, and she goes, yeah, I want to go to Italy someday. I go, yeah, I'd love to go to Italy. She goes, Dad, I have a question for you. I'm like, what's that, sweetheart? She's like, are you telling me if you go to Italy, you wouldn't have Italian wine? I looked her straight in the eyes. I go, yep, I would not have a glass of wine. She goes, really? I go, let me explain why. So let's take this glass, for example. Let's say this is alcohol, okay? I go, sweetheart, it's not that I can't drink that. I'll be fine. The challenge is I've objectified that alcohol now. The challenge is if I drink that, that's a person I no longer want to be. Now I got to deal with that MFer. I don't want to deal with that guy. I wake up with him every day. Why would I give him any fuel? The devil don't take checks. He's going to take my soul. So why would I drink that? So I viewed alcohol as that thing that no longer is me or serves me. So it's an easy decision. And she's like, never thought about it like that. I go, so it's not that I can't, sweetheart. It's just the people that I'm touching, I'm talking about my book. The regret that I would have by drinking that for pleasure is not worth any of it. The pain that I would go through. I don't even want to even think about it. So the repellent of that pain is way easier than drinking that drink.
Yeah.
She's like, never thought about that.
And it's something that no longer interests you because of all of those things. Yeah. To you, it wouldn't taste good.
And I'll still go. I mean, it's funny. I'll still go out and I go, you know what I do though? Italy, I'm going to pig out on some pasta and some, I'll eat the
pizza,
food, right? Yeah. And what I do, like, I'll go around settings. People are like, what do you do when you go? I just go out. If they want to get a glass of water, I'll put lime in it. And honestly, for anybody that's not sober, I'll just give you some information. Year 2 is your hardest.
Year 2?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Because year 1, everybody's curious. So you got a problem? What happened? Like, what's the story? And you kind of get to tell the story, right? And it's kind of, you get ego boost. Oh yeah, I support you. Like, good for you, right? Good for you, right? Year 2, no one gives a shit.
Yeah.
They know your story. Year 2 winter was the hardest winter I've ever been through. Because what you don't know is what I would drink is mostly I did it because of these emotions or feelings, or maybe there's conflict I got, suppressing them. It was the first year of being sober that year 2, that second winter, I was in it. It was cold. It was dreary. It was fucking dark. I live by myself. I don't got any pets. All my kids are. And to deal with that emotional internal chaos for the first time in my life, there are emotions I never felt before. Like never felt. As a 5-year-old boy.
Yeah.
Yearning for his mom. Wondering where I'm at. Right? That was the most incredible experience, but it was the most gut-wrenching pain I've ever been in my life. Like literally as a 51-year-old man.
Wow.
Going through that was awful. This past winter was almost identical because it's just where I'm at in life and things going on, these emotions, that the awareness part, I'm tapping into so many things of the childhood trauma, of the inner child I'm working through that I never dealt with. That little Albert is like, dude, I'm so sorry that happened to you, man. I had no idea you felt that way. But now I felt betrayal, heartbreak, life as a man. To experience those emotions as a 54-year-old man, I don't wish that on anybody.
And that's where the habits come back
Yes,
in, and the
yes,
comfort,
sir.
the comfort feelings.
Yeah.
A lot of times, a relatable situation is for those that like eat comfort food. They, when they're stressed, you hear it all the time. It's like, well, I'm stressed, so you wind up eating a whole bag of chips.
Yep.
And you're not even hungry, but you eat this whole bag of chips, and you know, as the stress goes on, you realize that what you're doing is that you're going back to this comfort food. It's or comfort drink, or it's a habit that gives you it almost the, you know, the stories you see in the movies. You got your little blanket, you know, where's your binky and your blanket, and they carry the blanket. It's that comfort that people revert back to on the habits, and that's what you're talking about. It's that comfort feeling, the comfort taste, the comfort, whatever it is. It's that habit that stress induces, and you go back to comfort.
Well, I think the other point you're making about like the time in your life that's interesting with it too is I think that if you look at most of society, right, you have these things that occupy you. They occupy your body and where you're supposed to be, but also your mind. You're busy with things. I know, you know, like for me, to kind of give the comparison to yours, like I was a student and an athlete and chasing my career, and then it kind of abruptly came to an end with a shoulder injury. But I had just met my now wife of you know, this point 17 years, and got into mortgage, and it was like just everything that I had poured my whole life into, I just suddenly poured into now family and work, and my mom passed away, you know, kind of suddenly, and then there was a point where I had, you know, a break in the business front, and it was in my 40s where I was waking up going like, who the hell am I? You know, I had never really paused. It had just been go, go, go. And then it's kind of scary when you're with yourself and you don't have something to do, where a lot of that stuff you've just kept yourself too busy. And that, you know, that can be, you know, there's a lot of people that keep themselves busy to avoid dealing with it. And your entire book is talking about dealing with it to be able to then move forward with it. But I think there's a great majority of people who, you know, this will resonate with because of the fact that we all have stuff. And, you know, I know for me, if I'm busy chasing something, it's really easy not to worry about anything. But then you get those quiet moments, and all of a sudden it's like you said, those flood of emotions or thoughts, fears, anxieties. So what would be your advice to people who maybe haven't had a real like rock bottom moment, but who are aware that there's things that they're maybe putting off, and they're just keeping busy with themselves to try to keep from dealing with it?
Great question. It's a simple answer. It's not easy. When you wake up every morning there are two voices in your head. There's a whisper. It's very quiet. You got to stop the drink. You got to lose 30 pounds. You got to stop fighting with your wife. You got to stop being an asshole.
Buzz, that's for you.
Then the other voice says, you don't need to stop anything. Bro, they deserve that. That's who they are. Like, you're doing great. Like, no, eat that. You know, you're fine. You're fine. Like, no one has heart problems in your, that's your ego. You have two voices. God's voice and your ego. You know what ego stands for? Edging God out.
Interesting.
Okay? These two voices, so you know the answer already. Which voice are you going to listen to? Every morning when you get up. Not in the day, not at 6 p.m. when you're hanging with your kids. When you wake up, that's who you truly are. And that voice says, you got to get up. You got to get up. You got to get up. The other voice says, nah, man, it's Saturday. You don't need to get up. You've earned this sleep. So they already know the answer. Which voice they're going to listen to today. Now, do I struggle with that? Hell yeah, I still struggle with it. Every day is hard. Matter of fact, the longer I've been doing this, the harder it is because the ego is so big. It's so... Now, 4 years, no one's going to know. I'm going to share a secret with you. I decided to take cold showers as part of my routine since August 2020. I've only taken 2 hot showers since 2020. My mantra is I get up in the morning, start my day, cold shower. Before I go to bed, cold shower. It's not because I'm trying to be some masochist. It's this decision that I made. Albert, this is your new life. I'm talking about devil don't take checks. I made an agreement with God. God, you changed my life. I promise you I'm going to change this part of me. I promise you that I'm going to do this. That was my commitment. I promise I'll take 2 cold showers every day. Every day. So it's not putting me above, but what I'm saying is we have these decisions. Do I want, dude, when it was in the winter, that water was so cold at 9 o'clock at night. I didn't want to take a damn shower. I wanted to take a shower last night. But after I take it out, you know what it does? It reaffirms, bro, you did it again. Another check mark, another check mark, another check mark.
So I want to call some bullshit on something.
Okay, tell me.
And I'm just kidding, actually. You said ego stands for edging God out.
Yep.
Is that an actual acronym? Is like
I made
going
it up.
back and you okay, so that actually makes a whole lot of sense what ego is edging God out.
And I've heard it, by the way.
I wonder
I've heard it,
if
by the way.
that's
I've
like
never
where
heard it
the
till
Latin word. I mean,
Yeah.
You
never heard
start
it?
going.
I've never heard it till
I've
today.
never
I love
heard-
it.
Did I blow your
I
mind?
do too. I
Blows my
love
mind.
that, and that's why I wanted to
Yeah.
come back to it. It's like I
Powerful.
wonder if that's actually because a lot of words have root meanings
I don't know.
like
Maybe
that.
it does.
Have you heard it, Phil?
No, I haven't heard it. I think it's funny because it's
So funny.
to me,
I love
egos
that.
Me too.
egos balled into one thing, but I think ego is a hugely beneficial component to drive you to success, to push you to chase goals. But then it's just this delicate, like razor edge of where it comes in and becomes counterproductive, and finding that balance. And I think anyone who's driven has figured out how quickly you can fall on the other side of the razor's edge with it.
Yeah.
Well, there's
That's
a reason
true.
why. There's a reason why. So ego has 3 parts. It's to keep you safe, to keep you alive, and to seek pleasure. So you are right. But those 3 things, and so the challenge with that is, let me give you an example. So one of my I would say challenges I've had is I have put people in boxes, right? Because of my experience with them. So to this day, I still struggle with it, but if you were to tell me something, I wouldn't believe you.
I feel the same
Words
way.
don't-
Everything out of his
no,
mouth.
no,
Why
I
you
don't mean
gotta
that,
If
no.
I
Why is
said
everybody
something,
looking at me?
if I said something negative about Buzz,
Meaning, so words don't mean anything to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the reason why is I grew up with 2 parents who this love hurt relationship. They love me, but they hurt me.
Mm-hmm.
So I never trusted. So I learned how to lie and manipulate, because the more truth I told you, I'd get hurt. Might as well lie to you. Get out of it. Yeah. So what I've adopted over the years is words. And so relationships have been hard because words don't mean anything. It's like, so I've been in this false treadmill of truth, of ego, like, well, she said this or he said that. Do you really believe them? And then I can't come with this narrative, as opposed to, why don't I just believe you, right? That's where ego can really hurt you, because it's survival mode. Is, see, I don't trust you. Yeah, that, or maybe you do something. See, the precedent is, if that goes there, A plus B equals C. We're gonna get C outcome. So fuck this guy. Ego. What I've realized is, like, it's been a powerful tool for me. It's done so many wonderful things, and I'm going to give you a gift. I'm going to show you how to deal with your ego. What I've learned how to do is, if I have a situation where, let's say it's I'm getting anxious about something, and I will say, hey, ego, you've always been there for me, and I know you want me to do something that I don't really want to do, but I'll get back to you tomorrow. But right now, I don't need you. You've kept me safe. You kept me, in the zone of just protection, but today is not the day. Is that cool? Ego's like, yes. So you negotiate with the ego, and you get him tomorrow. Because if you try to say, I'm not going to do that because you're my ego, guess what ego does? He's going to fuck you up.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it comes with a vengeance. Because the more he suppresses it, she's going to be like, you think you got that figured? I'm going to trigger you. I'm going to cause chaos in your life. And I got you, because that's what we do. So it's something I've had to learn how to really tame that part of me. Now, do I still mess up? Yes. But it's an exercise that I've learned that my ego is so big, not because of like fame, but it's because of protection. Like this little Albert guy, you got to understand how much violence I was around. Like, there's a lot of violence. Like, it has a quote I have. I don't know if you know how much violence it took to be this gentle. It took a lot of violence to be this gentle. Like, I grew up in a violent household. And so for me to really like lean on that, understand that the ego was like, all right, I would get in this cocoon when I was a kid. Whenever I heard pain or I was getting in trouble, and then sometimes the relationships that hurts me because I get triggered. I'm like, and I just shut down because I don't want to yell, and I don't want to hurt you. I don't want to hit you. But my ego is like, we're going to fucking peacock. No, this. So does that make sense? But it's just interesting dichotomy happened.
Yeah.
I wanted to go. So in chapter 8, you talk about your faith, God. Tell us a little bit about that. How you came to that, and what prompted that. Because I don't think that we all talk enough about our faith in God, and I think that there's a lot of things happening in the world today that is because of we've moved so far away from God. So,
great question.
Talk about that.
So just full disclosure, so book 2 is I made book 1. Book 1 was available. It's a black cover, and I took the guts of that book and I expanded on it. So don't need to get book 1. Just stick book 2 because it's got more context. It's more fun. It's got pictures in there. But I thought the second book was really relative because if I'm being really, really honest here, I think I've been a what do you call it? Backseat God lover. Instead of a backseat driver, backseat God lover. And what I've learned over the years that I used to do is I used to treat God like a genie. God, can I get this or can I get that? And right, as opposed to looking at, there's an acronym for pray. You've heard the acronym for pray? To praise God, to repent, to ask, and then yield or surrender. You heard that before? So pray. And this last year, why I wrote the book, and I want to include it because it was the first time that I leaned into the 4. Like really am I really grateful for the life I have? Am I really grateful for God, for you been so powerful, and so many graces you've given my life. Have I really given you that? And have I really taken time to just surrender, like repent? Like, I'm so sorry for the way I've showed up, maybe today, or maybe how I reacted. And God, I ask, you keep my grandchildren safe, and keep my son in suffering and challenging, because he needs that as a man, and all these things. Just ask for things. And for me, I want love and happiness in my life. And God, I know I have my way, but it's your way. So I surrender. And so that was a really important piece for me to implement that, because I think most of my life, I didn't grow up on faith, by the way. My mom, funny story is, my mom and dad, when they split up, my dad grew up in the Catholic Church, but renounced it. And then my mom was Catholic, but we don't speak Spanish, and I don't speak Spanish. My parents don't speak Spanish. My mom when she picked me up with my sister, we'd go to Catholic church and they speak Spanish. I'm like, I don't know what the hell you're saying, right? So it wasn't until when I got married to my kid's mom, and we got married in the Catholic church, that I got baptized. But I was still going through the motions. Like, honestly, I was going through the motions. I think a lot of us do, right? And I think it's our ego. Our ego is like, yeah, I'll need you when I need you, you'll be there. So to answer your question, Buzz, is this year, why the second book was so important for me, it was to talk about God. It was to really thank in words. Like, if I could touch someone that says, look, God is a part of my life, and hopefully you someday you can believe the same. Not pressure you, but here's what I believe. And so, yeah, it's I get up every morning and I say a prayer. I open up the Bible, and I read something. I write something down, and then I just give thanks. So it's been a very, very important part of my life. And what the result is, I feel more blessed and grace than ever. It's been the best shape of my life. I love my life. I love where I'm at in life. Grandkids are awesome. My kids are amazing. And so, yeah, a lot there.
Yeah.
Nice.
I've got to, as we're nearing towards the end here, I have to try to tie a bow on your journey in a way that I think really, for those that have read it, haven't read it, and our audience listening, your change, your transformation. There's a thing in life, anything that's hard or that's worth having, right, comes with pain, right? Comes, whether it's getting in shape, whether it's changing your habits, establishing new behavioral patterns, pain in different forms, physical, mental, emotional, you name it. And there's a lot of what's happened in, for people where they run to comfort instead of the pain, and therefore change is not possible. So talk a little bit about your relationship and view on pain, and maybe like a motivational message for people to understand that you kind of have to go through the storm and feel the pain to get to that good place.
So your question was so interesting about God, because again, what I'm learning more, there's stuff in the Bible I didn't know. It talks about it. It's a verse. Did you know that? Romans 5:12 literally says this. I just literally read it a week ago. Suffering, matter of fact, it starts out with saying that faith in Christ. And faith is hope, right? Faith is things hoped for with the evidence of things not seen, right? And so it starts out with that part, but in the verse it says, suffering leads to perseverance. Perseverance leads to hope. Hope leads to character.
Powerful.
And I read that, and I'm like, holy, what? I'm sorry, I butchered it. It's suffering leads to perseverance. Perseverance leads to character. Character leads to hope. Character leads to hope. So to answer your question is, what a lot of people have a hard time with this word suffering is they think of it as a bad thing. Because there's a victim that says, why has this happened to me? You know what I figured out? You probably know the answer. Why has this not happened to me?
That's so powerful what you said right there, because I do think the tougher and the harder someone's life is, the more impact they have on more people. And I think people forget that. So it's kind of, I know it's not great, but it's kind of a gift.
It is.
Because your story is going to touch so many people that maybe my story couldn't, because I grew up in a Christian home, little perfect Christian home, right? And you didn't, but the impact you have on a certain amount of people is so much stronger than mine. So suffering can be a good thing, and it makes you, it's like a pearl, right? The grit makes a beautiful pearl. So the harder and the more you go through and you come out, the better you are. So
most of our good habits are established. Most of our good habits are established through pain. Most of our bad habits are established through chasing comfort, right?
So I was with a buddy of mine this weekend, and he was going through it, and we talked about, he was giving me his perspective on his life, and a little kind of victim mode, right? And I said, I won't say his name. I go, hey, bro, do you want to know my perspective? He's like, sure. I go, ask for more. He's like, what? I go, you know what I figured out is that I've been put on this earth because I've handled the worst of the worst. It may not be worse than yours or yours, but it's the worst, right? It's my level worse. And what I've learned is that when I bow down to where, why has this happened to me? God's like, I can't give you more. But when I said, raise up, I'm like, give me more. I'll take your suffering, Buzz. I'll take yours, Julie. I'll take yours, Phil. Then that allows me to go through these experiences. Yeah, are they hard? Yeah, is it painful? Yeah, but I get to go through the experience. I get to go back. Hey, by the way, here's what I learned. Here's what I'm not going to do anymore. Oh, I messed that up really bad. And I shared the story with him. And he's like, I've never heard that. I go, bro, ask for more. Like, you're going through it right now? Ask God, give me more. I'll take on hers. I'll take on my daughters. And he sent me a text later. He's like, that was most impactful things a man has said to me. I said, amen, you're welcome. Because that's what I believe. I believe, you know, does it suck? Yeah. Does it get lonely? Yeah. Does it painful? Yes. But you know what? Every one of you here has gone through 100% of your adversity of life. You've gone through it. Even yours in your story, you've gone through it. We're here still. All the adversity that's been so painful and hard and heartbreaking, all of us has gone through that. So it gives me the belief, like, give me more.
That's right.
Well, and it also has a tendency to allow you to focus on other people's problems.
Yep. Step outside of yourself.
Amen.
And that's a huge part of Christianity, is focusing on other people's problems and helping them. So you're exactly right. It's awesome.
Absolutely
awesome.
powerful.
Great book.
Phenomenal book. I mean, how do you apply some of those things as we get towards the end here, and then we'll get to your mortgage? How do you apply that, like in your day to day with work, doing, you know, and translating some of your things when you go to work, and you talk a lot about relationships being important to you over transactions, which is a huge thing for me. One of the reasons I moved more into leadership was my wife gave me a hard time. I was in a whole bunch of weddings the first few years of originating as a groomsman because I got too close to the clients. But how do you approach the industry, you know, today, and how's that changed over your evolution?
Yeah, the bottom line is it's allowed me to be less reactive and more responsive. Like, if you're coming at me, I know it's not about me. Like, you got something going on. You know, if there's something that's upsetting you, I know it's not about me. It's about something that I said that. So I've learned how to really take a broader scope of just understanding whatever's coming at me. Again, give me more, is a test. And guess what? Our test becomes our testimony. I get to be here and say, I get to see it. Here's what happened to me today. So I just view it. I don't go out and say, hey, what am I going to learn today? It's like, okay, whatever comes my way, what did I learn? You know? And so it's again, trust me, I fail 9 times out of 10 every day, but I get to look back and say, okay, what could I have done better? What could I have done differently? You know, one thing that I've really harped on for myself is my word has to be impeccable. Like, it's got to be, I got to be able to stand by my word for me to trust myself, but also for you to trust me, and you to trust me, and you to trust me. And it's such a hard thing to do because there's accountability, but it's allowed me to be more vulnerable, because when I'm truthful with myself, it forces me to answer questions that may be hard, but you get the real me. I'm not holding back. So that truth, not my truth, like the truth, it does set you free.
Wow.
Big time. Love it. I think that the
Good stuff.
application of that and hearing you say it is, if someone's not inspired by it, then they're
Book's not for them.
they're numb. They're numb. Buzzer, I know we're getting close. Why don't you give us our mortgage update?
Real quick, I know that you had said that you have a social media tip.
Yes, I do.
What was your social media tip?
I stumbled on this fact. It's more like AI wrapped into social media, and people searching for things through Google or through like ChatGPT have increased 375%. So from 2023, 8% people used AI as a search engine, and 2025 it rose to 38%, which is like a 375% increase. For instance, you use chat and say, who's the best lender in Folsom, right? They're doing that now instead of going to Google and looking it up. Amen. They're looking through chat. And people really need to think about that and make sure they're positioned accordingly. And one of the two main sources that chat pulls is YouTube and Instagram, which, if you know my social media, I have 0 YouTube, tons of TikTok. Yeah. My Instagram's now recently taken off, so that's good. But I really have to pivot and go into the YouTube world now, which is a pro tip, I think. And it's just you have to be out there, because I have pulled up that search before in chat, and the people that come up, they are in the top, but there's people that aren't there that should be. Okay.
Yep.
And that's powerful.
Good to know.
So there's your tip.
Awesome. Well, this week has been another week in a line of about 4 or so 5 weeks that we've been dealing. I guess it's 4 weeks that we've been dealing with the Iran war, and everything's been driven lately by oil and the transportation of oil, and that's still the story. We have all sorts of other financial news that continues to roll through. CPI yesterday came in hot, which typically would not necessarily be that great for bonds, but they kind of just shrugged it off because everything is about the cost of oil and what's going to happen in Iran and all of that kind of stuff. This weekend is some big negotiations that's going to happen. We did this ceasefire for a little bit, try to open up the strait, so I would watch carefully this weekend to see if there's any kind of agreements that come in. One of the problems, Iran, we've been dealing with this since 1979, and they've got really good at saying that they're going to do something and then stalling and then doing something else and then being given some grace, and so I don't know if this is going to be more of the same, but this weekend will be pretty important of what next week holds for us on the rates. What I always like to do is say, look, we're ending the week a little bit better with rates than what we started. Mm-hmm. That's a positive. We've moved into this really strange little range. We track interest rates on a 25-day average, or the market on a 25-day average, 50-day, 100-day, 200-day, and we've kind of moved right back up into the middle of the averages. But what that does is it creates this ceiling of resistance and this floor of support that we've moved into, and it's kind of been bouncing around for a few days. No telling if it's going to break up or below, but that's where we're fighting right now. So in the conversation, we're a little bit better this week than we started. So
hey, we are too, especially after listening to Albert.
Yeah, and we get to talk to you, Albert. It's been amazing hearing your story, reading your book. And that's my copy over there on the thing. I don't want anybody to steal that one because that's my copy. But man, thank you for being here, and thank you for being here. You're looking amazing.
Thank you, Buzz.
Amazing.
I want it. You have a book signing coming up. When and where is that? So, and I'm going to be there. I promise you.
April 23rd.
Okay.
From 6 to 8 p.m. We're going to be at Encanto Tequila and
on Vine Street in El Dorado Hills.
Yes. From 6 to 8. So love to have you there. We're expecting about 200 people there. and we're gonna have fun. And the books, I'm saying the books are free, but I'm gonna have a QR code if people want to donate or want to pay it forward. But it's just a collaboration, a celebration. So I'd love to have anybody there that want to be there. But Encanto Restaurant, El Dorado Hills, April 23rd from 6 to 8 p.m.
Love it.
Thank you.
I'll be there.
Day after my birthday.
Okay,
Hey.
we'll celebrate that too, Buzz.
That's right.
That's
65.
You turning
Right.
92?
I'm turning 93.
Ego, I love that.
So, ego.
Ego,
And
edgy,
cold showers.
God out, and cold showers.
Let's
Let's go.
bullshit.
Let's-
I'm not taking
no,
cold
I'm not
showers.
doing that. That's
not taking cold showers.
No, me
I
neither.
actually,
Buzz,
I
I'm with
actually
you.
love that's the best way to wake up and get rolling
I'm
too.
with you.
No damn
Life is
cold
too short for a
showers.
cold shower, Albert. I love you.
You'll have to explain to me the benefits, but we'll do that at a different time.
Bring me on again. We'll do it again. It's all good.
Well, I echo their sentiments. Super powerful. Reading the book is powerful. I think anyone that has the desire to share their story goes through, do I really want to tell the whole story? Do I really want to tell the parts, the ugly parts, the parts that, people would judge me for, or that, I may be most ashamed of? Any of those things is a process people go through. And, inevitably when people do it right, like you have, it's nothing but inspirational because it's real and people can respect the things you're saying. And I think what you just said a second ago, I think is important. People try to be perfect and think they have to be perfect to speak with some sort of level of expertise, and it's the exact opposite. Our failures are what teach us, and the failures of those of us or those around us. And it's really inspirational listening to you talk, and both your calmness, your humility, and your experience has been really, really inspiring. So we're really grateful to have you here today, my friend.
Yes, thank you,
Yes.
Albert.
Thank
Thanks.
you. Honored.
Well, we are wrapping up another episode of the Blitz Break, and hope you all enjoyed the episode. As always, you can check this out. It'll be on YouTube, SoundCloud, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all your social media platforms. That's another episode for the week. Enjoy your weekend, and we'll see you next Friday.
All right. See you.